Okay, so this person says where was watching the video, the not the videos, the meditation, the 15-minute meditations that I do um, ac- across all of the internet, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's everywhere. Okay, so they say, I enjoyed the short meditation. I meditated for years and I'm now trying to get back doing it every day. I usually use a guided meditation. It helps the wandering mind. I also light incense, face east, and concentrate on the light in the center of my head. Once I find myself thinking or aware of other things, I use that as a jumping board to go deeper, back to the center. I'd like to know what you do and what your experiences are. If they are not addressed in your book, they're talking about Maya Noise, because in another message they said that they'd ordered it. I admire you for helping people to reach enlightenment. I hope to get there one day too. So that's great. Thanks for that, Miss. Thanks for the question. So I thought I'd just go into. I mean, I talk about meditation on the in the just the 15-minute meditations that I do. They are really a chance to meditate together, and then I just do a little run through of what I do, just for people who are new to meditation. But obviously, there's a lot more to meditation than I can cover in a little, 15 minutes on Instagram. So I think for like the main thing is that for if you're in further emergence, unless you're overwhelmed, if you're overwhelmed, meditation is not a great idea. I just don't think it's the best thing to do. It's because, as I was talking about, like being overwhelmed is a little bit like sitting in the center of a hurricane. So any kind of thought that you have pulls you into the hurricane, and you're like, and it can be hard to get back to the center. So you would think, oh well, meditation would be great for that, but it's not, in my experience. Um, light distraction is very good for that, so that you're not actually focusing too much on what's going on. I find that much more helpful because um, meditation in that kind of situation can feel a little bit like throwing petrol on a fire. It can be very painful, and I think unnecessarily. So if you're overwhelmed, not a great time to do meditation. I would think. If you wait, I mean, the overwhelm's going to pass anyway. So if you wait, it'll pass, and then you can meditate, and that's fine. And then you can look at the issues and underlying stuff. Okay. So that being said, um, other than when you're overwhelmed like that, and you're in further emergence, meditation is probably one of the most helpful things that can help you with further emergence. Um, and mantras and guided meditation and all that kind of thing are great, but um, they like a mantra is good for helping your nervous system, particularly a mantra like something that you get in TM or a transcendental meditation. Great. It's like it's attuned to your nervous system. It helps your nervous system relax. Great. But ultimately, and because I did TM, I did guided meditations. I've done lots of different types of meditations, but ultimately, for me anyway, it's like ultimately you get the sort of the what's this? There's a phrase for like which I can't think of. Something like that hard edge or the cutting edge or the cold front of what you're doing is to do with not thinking. So a guided meditation will engage your mind. It sort of brings your mind somewhere, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But ultimately, where you end up at, or where the real kind of depth work is in not thinking. Similarly with the mantra, somebody asked me about it during the week, and I was saying, often like meditation to me feels like going into a crowded pub, pre-COVID obviously, going into a crowded pub with 300 people that all look like you and sound like you maybe the people from your past, and well, they're all chatting and having a great time, and it's super interesting. And in the far corner is your intuition, the very far corner, and it's just whispering. And meditation is like going into the pub and going, "Can everyone just shut up for a minute because I want to hear, my intuition." And that's the beginning of it. And then as you get more into it, then you sort of make your way to that intuition, and then you go out the back door of the pub into this huge mysterious place. Okay? So a mantra can be like that pub, but it's like got techno music, like dum 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 over all the time. So it's still really hard to hear that, and it's still really hard to walk through it and go out the back door, which is kind of where you're headed. So it's all fine. Everything has its place, and I'm not putting anything down, but I'm just saying, like, for ultimately where you're going to end up at is not thinking. So as I say, I'm not putting them down, but just putting them in the hierarchy, I suppose, of where I see them, or where I see it. And like, not thinking is just the hardest thing to do. Like, it's the I can understand why all these other things have kind of come up. So I just made a few little notes just on different things to do with meditation, just to sort of add, to fill it out a bit. Okay, so I'll just go through the basic. Okay, so it's like meditation is so simple but really difficult to do. Okay, so like I close my eyes and I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound. So basically I stop thinking. That's stopping thinking. But then I also know that my mind is just in the habit of thinking. So the practice of meditation is just continually doing that. It's like turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. Oh, there I am thinking. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. Oh, there I am thinking. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. And on and on and on. Now I'm doing other things as well, letting go of tension in my body and all that kind of thing. But the cold front, or whatever that phrase is that I can't think of, the cutting edge, that's not it either. But anyway, the nitty gritty end of it is seeing that I'm thinking, turning off the pictures, turning off the sound, and just repeatedly doing that over and over and over again. So that's the basic of it. Okay, so some things that and these are in no particular order of preference, is if like the meditation that I do on Instagram it is similar to what I do normally, but normally I don't have a camera in front of me and whatever. So for me, I'll generally have a timer kind of to remind me to meditate, because I don't want to be thinking about it. Like, I just want to think about less and less things. So I'll set a little timer. At the coal face. Yeah, somebody's saying the phrase I want is at the coal face. Yep, coal face. Okay. So yeah, I set a timer. So generally, how it goes for me in a normal kind of day is, when I wake up, I'll just sit up in bed and I'll meditate for about 15 minutes, and I'll set my timer. I always set a timer for meditating because I just don't want to think about it. I'm trying to help my mind not think. So I set a timer so that I'm not in there going, how much time has passed? Because time doesn't operate the same way out of existence anyway. So as soon as I, close my eyes, I'm into, a different kind of time space. So of course my mind is kind of I'm sure 15 minutes has passed now, and it's like, look at my watch, it's like 3 minutes have gone. Like, oh no. So timer just helps me not do that. Okay. Then, yeah, so I'll sit up in bed and I'll just meditate for about 15 minutes. Now, it's a weird kind of thing because I'm very close to dreaming. Like, I've just come out of dreaming, and dreaming is part of out of existence. So for me, meditating straight away, as soon as I wake up, and it's important to sit up, because if I tried to do it when I was lying down, I'd just fall asleep again. So sitting up, it's a way of kind of, if there's any loose ends from dreaming, meaning if there's things that I was trying to convey to myself in the dream that I didn't really get, or will drift off into just missed, then meditating that straight away helps kind of finish off or consolidate anything. Okay. So once I do that, then I'll set a little timer of somewhere between an hour and a half, just to remind me it's not to remind me to meditate, but it's like to bring my awareness to do I want to meditate or not, or is it appropriate? So then I'll get on with my day and I'll be doing whatever. And then an hour and a half or an hour, 15 minutes or whatever later, my alarm will go off. And depending on what I'm doing and where I am, I'll either meditate again or I won't. Now, that in itself is a little process, because one of the benefits of meditating and how it helps you with further emergence is days, our existence and days in existence have momentum. You start off and, go along and you're doing this email, or you're doing washing the dishes, or whatever it is that you're doing. So having a little alarm to go off I find it's great, because it's like, part of me is the momentum will be like, no, let's just do this, finish this thing off. And it's really good to just stop. um, because it sort of breaks up that momentum, and it's almost like snaps me into awareness of what's actually happening right now. So without that, I'd be just getting very involved in the business of the day. Whereas as soon as the alarm goes off, I'm like, it's almost like I pull back, go, oh, right. And then if it's appropriate, like if I'm not driving somewhere, or if I can, then I'll go, great, and I'll put my timer on 15 minutes and I'll meditate. Now, the other thing I do as well is that when I start off to meditate, I don't kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to get into my meditative position now, and okay, and then I'm going to set my timer. I generally, as soon as the alarm goes off to sort of to say to me, hey, do you want to meditate now? Then I can, and it's appropriate, then I'll set my timer. I'll almost like try and not move and set my timer, close my eyes, because I want to see what's happening in my body. I don't want to change my position into my meditation position. I want to use the opportunity to see how my body is, right? So I have a tendency to slouch. I think I've got some sort of lower back thing, right? Where if I'm sitting in a chair, I just start, I just keep doing it. Okay. So meditation has been great for me, because I become conscious of that. Like as soon as I close my eyes, I'm like, oh, wow, I'm slouching. And what happens is that as I'm meditating and I'm checking my body, I will just automatically get into what is considered a very nice meditative position, meaning my spine will just automatically straighten, because it's almost like trying to tune a radio. I just will not be able to hear or feel, it doesn't feel right. So then I'll sort of sit up a bit. And if I happen to have my arms folded or my legs crossed or whatever, that won't feel right as well. So I will eventually uncross them. But I think there's great value in doing that from the inside out, rather than going, okay, I must sit up straight now because I'm going to meditate. I must uncross my arms and legs, and I must, breathe better and all that kind of thing. I find that not doing any of that, but just closing my eyes and going, right, I'm going to start, and then start checking my body. And then, and sometimes I just go, like it's funny, because I'll hear myself going, yeah, I'm not going to sit up. No, I don't want to sit up. No, I'm going to keep my arms and my legs crossed. Basically, fuck you. I don't care. And I'll be like having a little tantrum on the inside about just sitting up straight. And that's all very, it's very, it's informative. It's like hearing things I wouldn't have heard before. So that's something else to do. Is I would discourage you from getting into a special meditative position. I've been thinking about lying down. Meditating lying down, very different to meditating sitting up. Generally, I'd encourage you to sit up. Okay. So, for example, if my alarm goes off and I start meditating and then I start nodding off, I stop meditating and I lie down and have a snooze. Okay, because my body is basically saying to me, I'm tired. Okay. Now I've learned that really, obvious thing through trying to persevere with it and going, no, I'm going to meditate. I'm not going to, and it's awful. I just end up like, snotty. So lying down meditation can be um it's almost like it becomes a little bit more trippy for me anyway. um Meaning I sort of get much closer to sleep, if that's assuming I don't actually fall asleep. Okay, so just in case I'm being confusing here, I'm drawing a distinction between if in the normal course of the day, if my alarm goes off to meditate and I start to meditate and I start to nod off, I will go for a snooze. Okay, that's different to consciously going, I'm going to do some lying down meditation. Okay, personally, a lot now. Okay, I used to do it differently, but now, um, the kind of lying down meditation I do is usually if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm not going to sleep, or when I'm trying to go to sleep and I don't go to sleep, or maybe I wake up during the night. Um, and that's usually has a very different vibe. It's it's kind of thicker. There's a kind of thickness to it, and I access different things. Okay, I don't want to go into that side of it too much because it can help with further emergence, but I have a feeling that how I relate to lying down meditation has been informed by years of sitting up meditation. So it is possible to do it, but just if you feel sleepy, go for a sleep. That's the main thing I think I want to say there. So you'll see different schools of meditation talking about observing your breath, observing thoughts, and that kind of thing. That's all fine. Again, you like one of the things about, say, a mantra or a guided meditation or something like that. Like a mantra, in some ways, it kind of bores your mind into into stillness, because of the repetition. You almost like hypnotize your mind into stillness. Similarly with your breath, like anything, if you focus on it long enough, it's gonna become bigger. So breath is fine. Like the breath side of it, it's important to breathe. Obviously, that's great. To focus on your breath becomes a kind of a mantra. So I would discourage that side of it, because like for me, it's about engaging with your mind and what's really happening, not kind of trying to bore or numb your mind into it. And the thing about observing your thoughts, that happens naturally in my experience, because if you're just um, turning off the pictures, turning off the sound, every time you discover that you're thinking, you're turning off the pictures, turning off the sound, you're coming back to not thinking, repeatedly doing that, then you can't help but not notice your thoughts. You can't help but not observe your thoughts, because in order to stop thinking, you have to realize that you were thinking. So I start off, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, and then maybe a minute goes by and I'm in the middle of this really complicated thought about this thing that's very personal to me. And then I kind of go, oh, I'm meditating. Oh, that's right. And I turn off the pictures. In the process of like the instant before I realize that I'm thinking and I'm right in the thought, there's that instant. And the next instant, I'm like, oh, that's right, I'm meditating. So a thought that was kind of all over me, and I was like immersed in the thought, and the thought was me, and I was the thought. Suddenly, it's like it comes off me, and I'm looking at it going, oh, I'm thinking. That's right. And I'm, meditating. Um, you can't help but observe your thought. And the other powerful thing about that is that what was felt like me an instant ago, now I'm looking at it. So I'm not that thought. So I'm something else. Okay. Which kind of points towards the mystery. So in my experience, focusing on not thinking brings you to naturally observe your thoughts. So the subtle power of meditation is that what I was saying about breaking up the momentum, that's really important, because it's like every time the alarm goes off to remind me to meditate, it sort of snaps, like a snap of the fingers, like a hypnotist going, there's something more real than this. So it doesn't matter what I'm engaged in, right? As soon as it comes up to about meditation, that is basically saying to me, there's something deeper here. This is not real, and there's something more real that goes on in meditation. So that's very powerful. The fact that you do that throughout the day, or as many or as little times as that you do it, but every time that you make time to meditate, subtly you're saying there's a deeper reality here that I'm going to focus on. That's very powerful. Then the fact that you so many times, like in the course of 15 minutes, I might bring my mind back from thinking 200, 300, 400 times. The fact that I do that, the fact that I continually detach these thoughts and go, oh, I'm thinking again. And it's without verbally saying it, I'm going, I am not this thing that I thought I was a second ago. What am I going to do about that thing? And whatever it is, because our thoughts are so personal and there's got emotion in them, we have feelings, to keep taking that off, that mask off, and go, oh, there I am thinking again. Very gently keeps reminding yourself that you are not these things. That's really powerful. Because then over time, like one of the things about meditation that people talk about a lot is that, I close my eyes and I'm just not feeling it. I did this meditation a week ago and I was really deep. I was really deep and I was so calm and I was in this beautiful, blissful place. I'm not feeling it today, right? That's an illusion. Like that's not real. Like the idea that you go somewhere comes about because your nervous system is settling, So you have proprioceptive feelings of descent and dropping and going somewhere, but you're not really. In terms of what's really happening, the place that you go to is completely accessible as soon as you close your eyes, and you don't even have to close your eyes. Like at this stage, because I've been doing it so long, I'm so familiar with it. I don't have to close my eyes. I can be having a conversation and I can be very deeply in that place at the same time. So, feelings are very similar to thoughts. Like the feelings come and go, and thoughts come and go. So, if you like, you could think, oh, this is a terrible meditation because I'm just thinking a lot. That's not true. Or this is a terrible meditation because I'm not feeling the depth. That's not true either. The power in meditation comes from making the time and sitting down and just doing the, repeatedly coming back to it, not thinking. There's great power in that. And what the effect that has is it almost like it brings the mystery up closer to the surface. So say when you begin meditation, you've never done meditation your whole life, and you start, it's like you maybe you do feel like you drop down somewhere, okay, and you connect with a part of you. As you meditate more and more, that gap, you realize that the gap is not real, and it gets closer to the surface, or it feels like it's closer to the surface. So that kind of sense of calmness, insight, wisdom, eternalness, all that stuff comes much more to the front, so that it's much more accessible to you. That's one of the other benefits of uh, meditating. Because meditation is like a long-term thing. In a way, like through repeatedly meditating, you it has an effect in the long term as well. It's not like one of those things that you kind of do once or twice and you have fantastic results. You can have fantastic experiences, but in my experience anyway, it has it sort of slowly dawns on you the effects of meditation over a long time. Um, so at the beginning, obviously, you want a quiet room that you're not going to be disturbed in because it's hard to do. Meditation is hard to do, particularly at the beginning. But then as you become familiar with it, you need to, like meditation is important. And as I say, I still have my little timer going off and whatever, but that is, it's like a moment to pause. But the real advantage of meditation is that the things that you get in meditation, the insights that you get in meditation, the feelings, the connection that you to the mystery that you have in meditation. For me, the purpose of it is not so much to, oh, I can only feel that when I meditate. The purpose is to bring it into my life so that I have that all the time. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, what's going on, what I'm looking at, where it's like that. Everything that I experience in meditation is available and active with me. So, um, driving along, I can suddenly see that I'm thinking something in the same way that I would detach from a thought in meditation. You go, oh yeah, that's right, I'm meditating. That just happens automatically. I start to kind of see, oh, there I am thinking about that. There I am thinking about that. Like, you could think about, or I think about myself, often it can be like a cinema, and you have all the rows right up the back row, all the way down to the front. And you can just depends on where I'm at. I can be right in the front row, almost with my face pressed up against the screen, looking at the screen out through my eyes, and I'm really involved in, what's going on. Or I could be one seat back, so I can see the part of me that's really involved in the screen. And then I might be one seat back again, so I can see the person in front of me, the me in front of me, and the one right at the front, right all the way back to the back row where I can see all the different parts of me interacting and having arguments with itself or whatever, like that, to navigate and interact with my life in that way, where I'm observing all the different bits of me, or not. I'm right up the front, or I'm at the back, or it kind of goes along in a kind of spectrum of all the different parts of me. The the purpose or the usefulness of meditation is to bring it all into daily conscious, from the time I become conscious of existence and I'm into existence, that it's on. I'm using it all. um, okay, I think I'm getting to the end of my little notes. A useful thing to do, I'm not big on kind of techniques, but a thing you can do that's very helpful. It's almost like a little quality control thing you can do on your thoughts. Is if you're meditating and you discover you're thinking, right? If you go, okay, I'm thinking now. What was the thought I had just before that thought? And you come back, oh yeah, I thought about that thing, and what was the one I had before that, and that thing. So it's like, if you think of the cliche train of thought, you start going back through the carriages to find out what triggered this train of thought. Okay, now that's really useful, because particularly if you're having, a why I call it like quality control, because it's happened to me loads of times. It's like, wow, I made this super connection. That's deep. That's so impressive and profound. And then I do this tracking the thoughts back, and it's like, oh, that must have come from the mystery. That's really, yeah, that's a big piece of intuition I just got there, right? And I track it back, and it's like it tracks back to a dog barking outside, or somebody slamming a car door, or something really mundane that just happened outside that just triggered all these connections. And then when I snapped out of it and realized, I was in the middle of this, huge, really important intuition kind of thing, that it wasn't actually that. It was just thinking that just got there. So tracking back thoughts can be great for seeing how very little of what seems like really profound thinking, it is from the mystery. It's actually usually just my mind, making connections and just entertaining itself with, more and more profound thoughts. It can be quite humbling. And why that's useful is because when my intuition does something does bubble up from the mystery, it has a very different quality. It won't have any trigger. It'll just pop, just with nothing to trigger it, or when there's no carriages on either side. It has a very different quality, and I would think I would miss the subtle difference if I hadn't done that, tracking back the thought thing, just to get used to what that is. The other thing to note is that, as I said, out of existence, time doesn't really register. So one of the things that can make you feel like you're not doing anything except just sitting there thinking is that your mind, or my mind, doesn't register time. My mind registers time in a linear kind of way, but out of existence, time doesn't work like that. So, for example, I could be having a thought like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to have for, and then I drop into the mystery. And I might spend, 2 seconds in the mystery and then pop up again. My mind, when it pops up, will go for dinner tonight because blah, 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 blah. So because my mind doesn't register the gap, it just puts the two things together. So from my mind's point of view, it's like I was just going, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner tonight, right? So you add all that together in 15 minutes and it can just feel like, well, I just thought for the whole time. But that's not what's happening. Like, if you understand that your mind doesn't register the gaps in time, then you could be spending a lot of time in the mystery or very deep without registering it. So if you sort of feel like, oh, I'm just doing a lot of thinking, you're probably not. Okay, but yeah, meditation, really, really useful, free tool for further emergence. Can't recommend it highly enough.